Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 239 of the Terminal City FC podcast. Second one this week, due to unforeseen circumstances. And Josh Ray joined alongside Nathan Dirk as per usual, talking all things footy and the World Cup, which is still underway. So Canada get out of the group stage, are off to the round of 32, but it feels like a missed opportunity not to win the group and stay in Vancouver with a 2-1 loss at BC Place the other day to the Swiss.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's one of those things where it's changing expectations as the World Cup goes on, right? If you had said at the beginning of the tournament that Canada will qualify, but they will qualify in second, well, that's exactly what you and I said was going to happen. That's kind of what our expectation was. But coming into the Swiss game where Canada's on top by goal difference, and you're thinking all you need is that draw, your expectations changed. We also knew that this was going to be the most difficult test. I think Canada did enough to deserve a draw. It just didn't pan out that way because there were lapses at the beginning of both halves where Canada wasn't really in the game. It took them, really, it wasn't until the hydration breaks of both games where Canada woke up.
Yeah, I think the Swiss won this game with the midfield. Not having a healthy Eustachio and obviously Kone really hurt things. Nothing against Saliba and Chouanier, but
I think Saliba played an excellent game. Chouanier did okay, but you got to remember he hasn't played meaningful minutes in quite a long time on this squad, so he's coming in pretty cold, right? That's a difficult thing to do. Missing Eustachio, which, for years we have said this guy is the engine of the team. That's huge.
Yep. And, Switzerland with Xhaka, with Manzambi, 20 years old, and Mbolo and Vargas. They outplayed Canada, especially through the widths, the midfield. And Canada is the defensive lapses early in the second half. They left Vargas all alone on that first goal. The cross shouldn't come in anyway. And then in the second goal, Luke DeFugero showed off his rawness, and Derek Cornelius, he got mixed up with Derek Cornelius, and Manzambi beat Crepeau. But thankfully, they didn't get shut out. Promise David off the bench. Great goal. Great pass from Nathan Saliba. Just a deflection pass. Gregor Kobel. Fortunately, wasn't enough. Canada had their chances. Derek Cornelius, like two headers that were very close. Would have been something for the former White Cap.
Yeah, going back to that very first goal of Switzerland, it's no one watching the second man into the box. That far man coming in behind. Alistair Johnson is going to the first man because the center back is out of position. The man that Alistair Johnson normally would have been watching is the guy who ends up scoring the goal, and he has all of the time in the world. There's nothing Crepeau can do about that. The second goal, you can argue that Crepeau should have done a bit better. He did get fingers onto the ball, but it was a powerful shot to get down low, to extend that far, and to get enough kind of hand strength to stop that. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but I can understand the arguments of saying that's one that if anything, that's the one he's going to want to have back. The goal by Promise David was phenomenal. The fact that he was able to extend his foot out that far, take it out of the air, and hit it with the outside of his foot, absolutely none of that is easy. And on top of that, you have Nathan Saliba receiving the ball, juggling it in the air a couple of times before he passed. The ball never hit the ground. When Saliba got it, he never let it hit the ground. You can say what you want about Saliba and whether or not he's young and raw and coming into the squad. I think he's ready to go, and he's a worthy sub for someone like Eustachio, and that's nice to see. Or not necessarily Eustachio. It's a bit of a different player, but Saliba, I can say. Kone.
Saliba played every minute.
The last 5 minutes of that game was absolutely frenetic. It's not for lack of trying. Let's put it that way.
We can't fault Canada's effort in this game because they could have played for one got draw if they converted their chances, and but overall, it's just the way they played, the defensive lapses, and how they couldn't press because the Swiss were so compact with keeping the ball or defending in the box. Like we knew this was going to be a tough test. It just
The Swiss are
feels
one of the
like
most
Canada didn't do
organized
enough.
teams out there. They're a well-oiled machine. We talk about Xhaka as if he's kind of like the name on the team, but you more have to just say they have good players all around. They don't have a standout talisman, how we see on some teams here and there. They're just organized so very, very well. And yeah, it didn't pan out on the day, but Canada does still qualify for the round of 32. And we had said, I mean, my benchmarks at this tournament was number one, get a point. You did that.
Yep.
Number two, get a win. You did that. Number
They did
three,
that.
qualify. And they did that. And at this
Did
point
that.
now,
Well,
the rest is just bonus.
yeah, and this is the first time Canada is in the knockout stages of the World Cup. But we should also mention before that, Alfonso Davies did not play against the Swiss because Jesse Marsh used him as quote unquote decoy. Fortunately, didn't work. I think it was a questionable decision, and I thought he would have made a difference in the final 5 to 10 minutes. But I get managing his minutes, but you have a game changer on the bench in a game where you have a chance to win the group and you're down.
For me, it's a non-starter.
You could have.
He had said at the beginning of the tournament, like when he in this press conference where he said Davies was a decoy, they said they had already decided that he was not going to play any minutes in the group stage. They already knew that. So putting him on the bench, he was never going to play anyway. So, I mean, to me, if you think it gets you a percentage or 2% added bonus because of being a decoy, sure, take it. But for me, it's just a non-conversation because he was never going to play anyway. It's not a fact of we're putting him on the bench. He could have played 5 minutes. It's the fact that we're putting him on the bench because he keeps his seat warm. He was never going to play no matter what.
The D. I mean, I just don't. I said on the other podcast I was on when Michael Martinez and Daniel Feuerstein after the game, why are we doing mind games? It's the group stage. But in the end, in hindsight, Canada gets an unexpected opponent in the round of 32. We thought it would be South Korea, but South Korea looked terrible in their game against South Africa. So Canada is getting South Africa in the round of 32. But the sad part is that it won't be at BC Place or Toronto Stadium. It'll be at LA Stadium.
You know what? This, I don't think anyone saw this coming. Who knows, maybe it's a little bit hubris or a little bit of looking at past expectations. Everyone thought South Korea was going to win this game, even before the game. Everyone's like, okay, look, we know who the opponents could be, but we know who it likely is going to be. But to South Africa's credit, they looked good. You got to point out they're young. I believe he's 22 years old, Maseka. This is a player that I think a few clubs might be starting to have their eyes on right now, especially I would say clubs that are kind of like the Eredivisie or, like Belgian league or anything like that, like, as a stepping stone. But he's a raw talent. And I think he's starting to put himself in a very unique shop window that always happens at World Cups, right? Whether or not it's going to be beneficial for him or not in the future, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But I thought South Africa played very well. I thought they had, for the first time, a good compact game plan. It was also the first World Cup game where they were ever leading. Like in all their World Cup games, they never actually led in a game. This was the first one they ever did, and they were able to hold on to it. I don't feel like South Korea really ever pushed them. The one player that we had seen do some really, really good matches so far was Wang Mbam. But if you took a look at him, that knee of his was massively strapped up. And even in this game, he went down at one point, and it took a long time for him to come up. So he's dealing with something. There's something going on, and when you have a guy like that who's basically organizing your midfield, and he's only running at who knows what percent. That's a very, very difficult thing to manage. Son Heung-min also started on the bench on that game. He came on at the half, but he hasn't affected any of these South Korea matches like he would have wanted. In the first game, he tried. He had over half of South Korea's shots, but he's been snatching at chances. We know he's a little bit slower than he has been, and that goes back to the Spurs days. I think we've seen the last of Son Heung-min in a South Korean shirt.
Possibly, yeah. Well, he's like 33, I guess.
Yeah, but for a player that relies so much on that speed on the wings, I mean, he could be like one of those guys, like say a Cristiano Ronaldo, that reimagines himself as a number 9, and then you don't have to run as much because you're always just up there. I don't know. I think South Korea is one of those exciting teams that has young players coming through if they decide to use them. And it might just be the smart thing for Son to say, look, it's time for me to bow out rather than get pushed out.
Yeah, or in the next major tournament, like a guy off the bench. Because South Korea didn't really, they were terrible in their attack. But credit to the South African goalkeeper, Ronwen Williams, made some great saves. But I didn't think anyone expects South Africa, especially after that first game against Mexico, to be here.
No.
Even Sithole, wherever you pronounce his name, back from suspension, did well against South Korea in the midfield.
Yeah, this was the game where also South Africa had their lowest number of possessions, so they had to be very, very clinical, and I think they knew that coming into this game. I think the Mexico game was probably the one that they were watching or that they were studying to then figure out, okay, well, what do we need to change of our game in order to handle an opponent of the caliber of South Korea? It's going to be one of those mixes. It's them overperforming in this game. It's South Korea perennially just not performing throughout this tournament. Yeah. And, you put those two things together, South Africa is now Canada's opponent. And it's really interesting because you said this game being in Los Angeles, resales of tickets have skyrocketed because there were so many South Koreans in and around the LA area who had bought up these tickets thinking
because that was
they're going to get to watch their team. They said, though, the resale value of these tickets has plummeted by almost 60%. So I wonder if people are dumping these tickets and just not getting any value out of them. But it also means that for any of the voyageurs and other Canadian fans traveling down, some cheap tickets to scoop up.
Yeah, I wish I could travel down, but unfortunately can't. But it's a good thing for Canada because if it was South Korea, it would have felt like a home game.
Absolutely.
For the Koreans.
Yeah. You're more likely now to have more Canadian fans in the stands than South African fans. It's largely going to be made up of neutrals. And it'll be interesting to see what neutrals do from the United States. Do they cheer for their northern neighbors, or is that American-Canadian rivalry going to go to this and, they adopt the South African yellow? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and it's a shame that this game isn't here in Vancouver or in Toronto. I wish that they would have given the hosts, no matter where they finished for the knockout stages, round of 32 and round of 16 games, but whatever.
That's a very difficult thing to do when you have to build your schedule before you've even done the draw.
Yeah, that's what made it
the
difficult.
Logistics of that would have been an absolute nightmare, not only for FIFA, but for the individual teams that are trying to figure out where to book hotels.
Yeah, Switzerland will remain here in Vancouver for round of 32 at least.
Which for Switzerland suits them fine. They're actually happy to remain here. I think they got special dispensation to stay here. They're not even going back to their training facility. Where I can't remember where they're training in the States. But I thought that they decided to stay here, which, I mean, they're allowed to. Egypt wasn't when they were trying to get to Seattle from Vancouver, which...
New Zealand also.
Yeah. On paper, this bodes well for Canada.
But you can't underestimate anybody.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. But, Canada has a chance to make it to the round of 16, and I don't think anyone would have said that beginning the tournament.
Yeah, but South Africa, just judging from the game against Korea, compact, well organized defensively. Canada's going to face a low block again, and this time they got to be more creative, be more clinical. Try to use the lessons from the Qatar game, where you make use of the whips, like the overloads, and from the Switzerland game, no more silly mistakes at the back. Try to win the midfield battle. We don't know how fit Eustachio is at this moment.
They had said that it was muscle tightness,
Yeah, it was
and
muscle tightness.
Marsh had let the player decide whether or not he was going to play. I got to say that when Eustachio came in towards the later half of that game, he looked great. He didn't look like he would skip the beat. Like, it made me wonder, why were you on the bench? So I have to think that they're going to be taking care of him over these next 4 days. He has to start. He has to start. Not only that, but you're the captain of the team.
Yeah, if
you better be
he's good to go, you might as well start him. Marsh said that Fonso Davies definitely will be part of the South Africa game.
Sure. Do we trust what Marsh says these days? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you can say whatever you want, but we have a different job than he has. Yeah. I'll believe it when I see the team sheet.
Yeah, we'll see. And also glad to get Jonathan David and Kyle Larin more involved. David pretty much was isolated against against Switzerland because he was really being marked. And Kyle Larin had a few chances, but just couldn't get on them.
Yeah. I don't think you can say really anything against the players. A lot of it is service when you're dealing with a midfield pairing that hasn't played together competitively in a long time. So that hurts any sort of service that you're trying to get, to your attackers. I also thought Ali Ahmed was a little bit quiet in this game. I didn't like the service from corners. I don't know what it is. I hate short corners. I know they have a place in the game. I know they're not going anywhere, but they really, really annoy me. Chouanier, when he took over and he was taking some, Eustachio took some towards the end. I do wonder if Davies comes on later on in the game, I do wonder if Liam Miller starts this game, if they might go back that way just to alternate that too. We'll have to wait and see. But I think that is one area where you might see a change. Or do you give Tajon Buchanan at least a half rest in this game and start Miller on the right? Or Ali Ahmed on the right? I mean, both players have played in that position.
They have. I'd probably go with the same wingers. I don't think the back line will change either.
Not yet. No.
Not yet. Moise Bombito still isn't fully fit. Could have used him against the Swiss.
I have a feeling, depending if you get to later stages of the game and you need that defensive stability, he will absolutely come on from the bench. But I can't see him starting yet because you're going to be lucky if he gives you 45 minutes, and then you're forced to make a change at the half already. And I mean, no.
Yeah, and Switzerland loss sucks, but Canada has a chance to move on and bounce back, and go to places where this team has never gone before. Like, you have a chance to go to the round of 16. You got to make the most out of it.
They've never gone before, and that's something in and of itself. But to be able to continue on, to have that legitimate opportunity if you decide to take it, that's awesome. But you also have to remember, South Africa is in the exact same boat. They've never qualified to a group stage, or sorry, out of the group stage either. So this is new territory for them. This is a very unique knockout round in that both teams have never been here before, and I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and this is what the beauty of the World Cup. Both teams have a chance to make history.
Yeah,
it should be a good game on Sunday. I hope it's not raining because I want to go to the FIFA Fan Fest. Of course, now it decides to rain.
Yeah, you kind of look at the forecast in Vancouver. I mean, we're getting traditional Vancouver fall weather, I'd almost say, but yeah, it's right now.
Yeah, and Canada will wear the black Ice Tech inspired kit. I kind of wish they were wearing the red, but whatever.
You know what? I don't know. I'm not too sure why they're not wearing the red. You think there wouldn't be any sort of conflict with what South Africa is wearing, but
Yeah, because what are they going to wear? Like yellow or green? Like you don't know what they're going to wear.
they wore the yellow last game. Their secondary color, I believe, is green. Their goalkeeper has worn red, so maybe that's a thing. But
Maybe, but it doesn't really make a
yeah, goalkeepers have other colors too. I don't know.
like,
Be like Takioka or like back in the day when Whitecaps goalkeepers were wearing fuchsia.
yeah, big Crepo's wearing blue.
Yeah,
No, I like those goalkeeper kits are nice though. Very underrated kits.
yeah.
So Canada, South Africa at noon Pacific from LA Stadium.
It's the only
Winner takes
game
on-
of that day too.
Yeah. Netherlands and Morocco will be the round of 16 opponent for the winner. Yeah, I think it is the first game of that day. The first.
It's the only game of that day.
Oh, the only game. The
It's
first
the
knockout
only
game.
game. Yeah, I think it's unique in the round of 32 that it's the only one where only one is on that day. It's the very first game of the round of 32, and I think that's because they want to at least be able to give teams at least 3 days rest or training or right.
Yeah.
Being that Canada played on the very first day, South Africa on the second, they can afford to do it with those two teams. But I think just the way the groups work elsewhere, you never know who you're going to be playing based on the whole third place teams that they've moved them to later on. Like there's I think they said one of the teams that played yesterday that qualified, they're not going to play for 8 days. Like it's really kind of crazy how far away this is. The one nice thing is that if Canada qualifies out of this group or out of this knockout stage, I believe they have a significant period
They
of
do.
rest.
It seems like they do. And it is the only game that day. And then the day after, there's 3 knockout games.
Yeah.
So all the world's attention will be on Canada and South Africa from LA. Just win, no matter what the cost is. Do not underestimate South Africa. Keep pressing. Keep moving the ball well. South Africa's going to sit back, so you got to be clinical.
You're really going to have to rely on those wide players, which is why I agree with you. I would like to see Tajon Buchanan play this game, but has he been subbed off at any point?
I think he did get subbed off against Switzerland.
Did he? Okay, because I was going to say, like, it felt like he was one of those guys that's almost played every single minute so far. I hadn't actually had the opportunity to go back and look.
I'm actually going to look right now.
Those are the sort of players at some point you want to find time to rest them. Maybe you do start him. If you do get up a couple, then, you manage minutes at that point. Because Tajon Buchanan has been one of Canada's, if not Canada's best player in this tournament.
Yeah, he was subbed off 74th minute against the Swiss.
Okay.
For Promise David.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So, Canada, South Africa on Sunday. Let's stick a little bit closer with the Vancouver Whitecaps. Sebastian Berhalter had a really good game last night for the Americans, despite the 3-2 loss against Turkey. And a game that didn't really mean anything other than vibes, but for a meaningless game, it was quite entertaining. Back and forth action everywhere.
It was a great game. Unfortunately, Turkey decided to show up a little bit too late to this tournament.
They figured out how to score after they've been eliminated.
I know, right? Turkey, very clinical, scores on only their 3 shots on target, all went in the net.
Yeah.
So, but the Americans had a massively rotated
they were playing the
this
Ouija.
one.
That's why
The
started.
whole thing was, let's give some of these other players the minutes. And I think it was interesting not only that, other fans get to see other players and other players get the opportunity, but Pochettino gets to see who is my depth. Who is my depth when they're actually called on to play a competitive match? And I think it's actually very valuable for the Americans to be able to see those players. And the loss isn't a bad thing. I think having a loss at this point, it also reaffirms that every game is not just a gimme, right? You kind of need those moments where you have a bit of a scare, and if you can come out the other side and be okay for it. But I think you're absolutely right. Sebastian Berhalter, first off, his set pieces. gets the
first
assist
goal.
on the corner, gets another assist on another corner. The goal is eventually disallowed because it was offside, and
he
then
scored
gets
the
a
banger.
goal on himself. Like he was everywhere. He was the man of the match.
Hey, played some really great balls to Pulisic when Pulisic came on.
Yeah. We were having a
It,
conversation afterwards about how much more this moves his stock up in terms of a potential move elsewhere. Enjoy him while you can, Whitecaps fans. Enjoy him while you can.
Well, even what Tom Bogert's reporting, it feels like all things can change, but it feels like at this moment, Whitecaps' plan is to keep him.
I know.
Till he's front and to let him go for free.
You know what? It's one of those heart and head moments where my heart says that's amazing. We get to watch Berhalter for a potential deep, MLS Cup run. My head is saying, you fools, get something from him. You spent years in developing this player. Get something from him. And, at some point, which one overrules, your head or your heart?
Yeah. At the back, was it McKenzie and Miles Robinson? At times they were good at clearing the ball, and then other times they were just chaotic and letting Turkey get to them so easily. And I felt like their attack was all gas, no brakes, because they were so fast getting in the box, and then they couldn't figure out what to do with the ball in the box.
They had a number of players that did not look good in this game. And do you know what it is? Is a lot of their players that normally would be starters did not look great. I don't know what it was.
Barely noticed Pepe, for instance.
The other player who looked absolutely atrocious was Timothy Weah.
Yeah, he was just not good.
It was not his game. And you know what? It's one of those ones where you have to almost write. It was so bad, you have to write it off as a one-off.
Yeah,
like I don't think how poor this game was for Weah is lost on the player. I think even the player is going to realize that was not my game. And it's sometimes you can learn from moments of adversity. I don't even think you can really learn from this one. This is one of those ones you just have to, I don't know, it's the Ted Lasso thing. Be a goldfish, right?
Yeah. Trusty got the goal, but when he was, defending, looked pretty shaky at times. Same with Joe Scally.
Yeah.
Matt Turner also in goal.
Freeze is going to be the guy going forward. I mean, he was the guy in the first two matches.
Freeze is their starter.
Yeah, so this was more of a moment of, give the backup stuff. I mean, all three shots on target went behind him. That should be pretty damning right there. So,
yeah. Elsewhere, Australia finishes second it was kind of a boring game, but the highlight was Andres Kubis accidentally kicking Connor Metcalf in the face with his cleats. But Connor Metcalf stayed in the game, so good on him.
That's there really wasn't a whole lot of chances in this game, right? We're talking about a game
very defensive, very physical. I honestly, it felt like that game was destined for a 0-0 draw.
There's one thing we started to notice it yesterday because it was the second day of the round or of the third round of the group stage, in that teams that play later on in the third round already get a better idea of what the permutations and combinations are going to be for the knockout stage. And if you're playing teams where they might sit in that second, third spot in their group, and they realize that both will qualify, they're not really playing for the win, right?
Yeah. Both teams were happy with the draw.
That is the one, if we have to pick out one detriment of this new World Cup system with this number of teams that they have, this is the detriment, because you're reaching the stage where you have games that in a weird way legitimately don't matter, or it matters more to get the draw.
Yeah. It felt like both teams were playing for the draw. Paraguay, they're going to wait and see if they finish on the top 8 third place teams. So Andres Kubis is World Cup. It seems it's likely going to continue.
The other one that we should talk about. Sorry, speaking of Whitecaps, you want to go to Vite, eh?
Yes. Ecuador, 2-1 win over Germany. They're through to the round of 32. Pedro Vite had a masterclass with the assist on the Angulo goal, and he and Moises Caicedo looked formidable in that midfield. It just meant a lot to Ecuador because it looked like they were going to bow out.
Yeah.
They needed a win, they got it.
How good has Pedro Vite become? He is such a different player than when he first joined the Whitecaps. And it was interesting to hear on the broadcast of that game, Toussaint Ricketts being asked the question, like, what changed for Vite? And he said it was training. It was a guy who finally started to take his training seriously rather than just relying on the natural ability that he had. Because he has a lot, but he needed someone to elevate him to the next stage. And he started doing that in his last year and a half with the Whitecaps. And that's what got him the move to Mexico and then part of the national team. I will say, though, I don't understand how that first goal for Germany counted.
Because Vite was kicked in the head by Pavlov.
He was kicked in the face, and he actually got the cleats in the face. I get it. It wasn't intentional, and the player's going for the ball, but in any team sport, one of the first things you're taught about is body awareness. If you have your foot in an unnatural position, and I get the ball's up there, but your foot is in an unnatural position if it's at your head level. It doesn't really matter. You can't kick someone in the face, even if it's intentional or not. That's just a big no-no. I don't understand how this counts, and it seems to be uniformly understood across anyone that you watch. Nobody can understand how this did not get blown back.
How did it not go to VAR, at least?
I was taking a look, and I wish I could remember the former referee's name. He's the head of the refereeing. He's the chairman of the refereeing commission with FIFA. The famous Italian referee that was like a badass, and even when players went after him, he had like the strong eyes that would just stare into a player's soul until he crumbled.
Yeah.
Kalari. I can't
remember.
Something
like that, yeah.
But he was talking about that they want to change the threshold in when VAR is used, to really make it more on par with what the Premier League is, rather than where other leagues use it. And if you look at how often VAR is being used in this tournament, it is pretty much on par. I think it's about 0.25 in the amount of times it's used in a game of when it's called upon. But I think it's too high, because there's been a number where people honestly just don't understand, where like, if you have this tool, why are you not using it? There shouldn't be a threshold if it's a tool, because ultimately it goes back to the referee, and the referee then gets to look at the monitor. Why do you not just send the referee to the monitor in this case?
Yeah.
Like, it seems in this case in particular, it seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah. Kick in the head. Speaking of Pavlovich, he and Nemecha were just outclassed by Caicedo and Vite, so Vite got the last laugh.
Yeah.
And then, it was Plata, Gonzalo Plata of Flamengo, with the winning goal in the 77th minute. And Germany's attack after that first goal just looked poor.
Germany had the majority of the possession, but they didn't do anything with it. They only had 3 shots on target the whole game.
Kai Havertz pulled after 60 minutes. Didn't notice him until then.
Yeah, right?
Classic Kai Havertz. But yeah, well done to Ecuador. They had struggled to score like all tournament, even before the tournament, but couldn't have come at a better time. And you'd think sooner or later Pedro Vite is going to move to Europe, and Whitecaps have a significant sell-on clause.
They do.
So that would help them.
Well, apparently, and you were talking about it yesterday, that there's already, different groups that are looking at.
Fans yeah.
Fan groups, but, that's
some Man United fan on Twitter said he wants them there at Old Trafford. I don't know about there, but maybe it's like
that's interesting.
Because I think he'd be a backup. I think Vite would go to I think like a Brighton would be really good for him.
That's exactly what I was about to say, right? Somewhere that plays with that kind of open space better.
Yeah. Well done to Vite and Moises Caicedo. I mean, current and former Whitecaps doing well at this tournament, but the other one, current Whitecap, didn't get any minutes. I could have at least got one. Ryan Alumi was on the bench the entire World Cup for Tunisia. Had he played at least 1 minute, he would have been the youngest player or one of the youngest players to play at the World Cup.
He would have been the youngest player in Tunisia's history at the
Tunisia,
World Cup. Yeah. In terms of the World Cup in general,
I think
he
that
would have been
Morris is the
somewhere in and
youngest.
around. Like, I don't know where. Like, he is 18.
Yeah, I think 18. Gilberto
He's
Moro
just
is
18.
17,
So yeah, I mean, there's been players that are a number that have been in the 17s. Going back to the days of, young Pele and whatnot. But I Tunisia got shocked in the first game, fired their coach, brought in perennial African traveling, coach merchant Renard.
Then got
at
slapped
that
by
point,
Japan.
Ilumi's World Cup was done. He was never going to get in because you're bringing in a brand new coach that said, like, I watched Tunisia a lot during AFCON and all that, but Ilumi wasn't a part of that.
No.
So he was never going to get on with Renard as the coach. Like, that, it was already written in the stars after the first game. Tunisia needs to go home and regroup and get an actual coach that's going to develop this team over the next 4 years. They're not going to be looking that forward. They're going to be looking over at AFCON next year.
AFCON.
Because I think that's 2027 is the next one.
Yep,
and really figure out what they're going to do because they're a good team. They just didn't show it.
Yeah, got to find also some more talent.
Yeah, it's there, right? I mean, you think of the number of players in Tunisia that play in Europe, particularly in France, because of the colonial history and the number of players that did go over there to play, or the number of players that were forced to go over there to play. They will find their way.
I think
Tunisia is never going to be Algeria. They're neighbors.
They're never going to be Morocco or Senegal.
Exactly, right? But they are a team that could be an upper echelon team in Africa, but they need to figure themselves out.
Yeah.
For
speaking
Ilumi,
of African teams,
for Ilumi, he needs to figure out whether or not he's going to be a part of that.
I think he will, because I think he's cap tied.
I don't know how it works. I've heard a lot of things saying just by participating in the World Cup, you're cap tied. I've heard others say that because he hasn't played the 3 games yet, he's not. Also, when he switched from Canada to Tunisia, he didn't have to use his official switch because it was only at youth level. I've heard a lot of different things, and I've heard so much that it actually started to confuse me. I need to actually look it up again.
Yeah. So speaking of African teams, Morocco played a thriller against Haiti. And they'll face the Netherlands as mentioned. Good on Haiti for putting up a fight, though.
Yeah.
And Brazil shutting out Scotland with Vinicius Jr. having another masterclass, and Mateus Cunha scoring another goal.
Mateus Cunha has looked very good in this tournament. Vinicius Jr. is doing exactly what we expected him to do. I thought he was more involved in this game as well as being a part of a Brazilian team rather than feeling like he has to do everything himself. And that's good to see. Brazil, Brazil is slowly come into this tournament, and maybe it's them building into it that's really going to help them. But yeah, they didn't start out that well, that's for sure.
And Neymar finally got some minutes off the bench.
Yeah.
So did Endrick.
He hasn't played. I think they said it was over a year and a half or something like that.
Yeah. Brazil will be taking on Japan, who drew 1-1 against Sweden yesterday in a game that felt like a chess match because both teams really didn't want to break.
Well, this is what we were talking about. This is one of those games where both teams are almost playing for the draw.
Yeah.
Like this, I was saying beforehand that Japan has been one of my favorite teams to watch in this tournament because they're just exciting to watch. They don't go down. They don't get involved in all the stupid stuff, and they play a very entertaining brand. That didn't really happen in this game because they were so hesitant because no team wanted to give space. They knew that a draw was enough.
Yeah, both Sweden and Japan really just felt like the draw was a deserved result.
This is the game that really is the epitome of if I have to say it, the one flaw of this format of the World Cup.
Yeah. I mean, Brazil-Japan, that's a very good matchup. for the round of 32. Don't count
Yeah,
out
it
Japan
is.
though.
I think the expectation is going to be Brazil because they're Brazil, but Japan could
they're
very
Brazil.
easily be a spoiler in that.
Right. How they got to figure out a way to stop Cunha and Vinicius Jr. While the Dutch also won the group, as mentioned, with a 3-1 win over Tunisia. The Dutch look very good. Another the game against
Every
Morocco
single World Cup we say, is this the year that the Dutch finally do it?
Who knows?
They're going to be up against Morocco in the.
I think I'm going to pick Morocco for this one.
I would have to say that as well.
Canada will be watching if they beat South Africa.
Very much so, yeah.
Because it's the day after.
Yeah.
And speaking of other group winners, Mexico just looked phenomenal.
Mexico looks like the Mexico of, I don't know, what, 5 years ago?
10 years ago, even before
like
then.
Mexico looks good.
They look very good against Czechia. By the way, Patrick Schick has announced his retirement from international football at the age of 30.
At the age of 30?
Yeah, 30,
Really?
31.
Oh, that's, you got to think that you could go a little bit longer, but sure.
Yeah. I mean, like, Mexico were solid defensively. They look so good in the attack. Like Quinones on that left wing. Very good.
Mexico also did some stuff kind of like how the States did, where they brought on some of their other players, like Ocha. The ovation he got when he came in and went into the net was nice to see.
This is his swan song.
Yeah,
he said, this is it for him.
Yeah,
he ain't a World Cup without him. Like if this is his final game, well done. Well, it is.
2034 is going to be notable for the players that aren't there.
Yeah.
Because Ocha, I'm guessing Messi and Ronaldo, right? Like it's going to be interesting.
Ochoa, yeah. I mean, what a place to have your last game.
Yeah.
At the Azteca in the World Cup.
If you are a Mexican player, there's no other place in the world where you would want to do that,
Yeah.
That's got to be very, very special.
The Azteca is the cathedral of Mexican football.
Yeah, it's one of those
I wish
stadiums.
the final was there again instead of New Jersey, but
they got the opening.
Yeah.
With the way this World Cup was, it was never going to be anything else. Instead, they're going to play the final in the middle of a giant parking lot. But
yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah, Gilberto Mora, 17 years old, Tijuana, had some moments, but this is obviously he is the guy for the future in Mexico.
Yeah.
So it looks like a move to Europe or MLS. Who knows? Could be in the cards in the near future. Whitecaps have a U22 spot open, I believe.
You're already watching it, huh?
Yeah, I don't know if they need him because they got Kenji Cabrera and Thomas Muller.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, Thomas Muller is back in Vancouver, still doing punditry. But he's training with the Whitecaps again.
Yeah. Yeah, he's working for a German broadcast, Magnolia or Magenta.
Magenta TV or something like that.
Yeah.
We got a lot of intriguing matchups today. For recording, this is 10:40. This is like one of the matchups of the tournament. France and Norway. Mbappe
I am excited.
Holland. Though Holland's not starting, according to reports.
Okay.
Senegal, Iraq at the same time from Toronto.
Yeah.
Senegal needs to survive.
From what I've been seeing from pictures and video already, Iraqi fans have descended into Toronto, and they've definitely made that their home. So I have a feeling that that's going to be a very big Iraqi crowd.
Cabo Verde, the story of the tournament in many ways. Take on Saudi Arabia in Houston, 5 our time, and at the same time Uruguay, Spain. Battle for first place in Group H.
I hate to say it, I don't know which match I want to watch there at 5:00.
Split screening. One on your laptop, one on your TV or your phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Then the nightcap, right here on the West Coast, actually. Egypt, Iran in Seattle for Group G, and New Zealand, Belgium at BC Place. Basically, this group, these games, it's anyone's group.
It is, yeah.
Group G.
Yep.
I think one of these teams on Group G is a possibility to face Switzerland here in Vancouver. Yeah, and enjoy all the World Cup action for the next few weeks. Hopefully, we'll have another Canada win to talk about next week. So that concludes this week's episode. Follow me on Twitter, Joshua00, podcast at Enduric. Nathan's at Enduric, podcast at Terminal City FC. And bro, check out all our articles for Area 51 Sports Network, all our daily week recaps for the World Cup and all that. And yeah, also check out the video I did of the Canada-Switzerland march. Phenomenal to be there. One of the best experiences I've ever been part of. It's on our Terminal City FC YouTube channel. Another reason why I was disappointed Canada's not playing another game here, because I wanted to participate in another march.
Yeah, well. I mean...
So, yeah, enjoy all the games. That concludes this week's episode. Peace out.
Take care.